Hey guys, it's Ellie. Welcome back to Bite-Sized Book of Mormon. Glad to have you with me. So if you've never been here before, this is just a podcast where I read through one chapter of the Book of Mormon each episode, and to give a little bit of context, a little bit of insight, a little bit of good times, so stick around. So remember last episode, we read 3 Nephi chapter 14, which is a bit more of Jesus Christ basically giving the Sermon on the Mount to the Nephites. Because, again, the Nephites are still God's people, and they still need the same direction that his disciples in the Middle East did. Even though it's repetitive for us, it was not repetitive for them. And so he talks about judging not that ye be not judged, beware of false prophets, straight is the gate, narrow is the way, a whole load of stuff. So go back and listen to that if you haven't already. But yeah, without further ado, let's continue the words of Jesus in 3 Nephi chapter 15. And now it came to pass that when Jesus had ended these sayings, he cast his eyes round about on the multitude, and said unto them, Behold, ye have heard the things which I taught before I ascended to my Father. Therefore, whoso remembereth these sayings of mine and doeth them, him will I raise up at the last day. And it came to pass that when Jesus had said these words, he perceived that there were some among them who marveled, and wondered what he would concerning the law of Moses. For they understood not the saying that old things had passed away, and that things had become new. And he said unto them, Marvel not that I said unto you that old things have passed away, and that all things had become new. Behold, I say unto you that the law is fulfilled that was given unto Moses. Behold, I am he that gave the law, and I am he who covenanted with my people Israel. Therefore, the law in me is fulfilled, for I have come to fulfill the law. Therefore, it hath an end. Behold, I do not destroy the prophets, for as many as have not been fulfilled in me, verily I say unto you, shall all be fulfilled. And because I said unto you that old things have passed away, I do not destroy that which hath been spoken concerning things which are to come. For behold, the covenant which I have made with my people is not all fulfilled, but the law which was given unto Moses hath an end in me. Behold, I am the law, and the light. Look unto me, and endure to the end, and ye shall live, for unto him that endureth to the end will I give eternal life. Behold, I've given unto you the commandments, therefore keep my commandments. And this is the law and the prophets, for they truly testified of me. So this is fascinating. So he's basically clarifying what he means when he says, I'm fulfilling the law of Moses. And people are like, what do you mean old things have passed away? Do you mean that you're undoing everything that's come before this and that you're just kind of starting something completely new? Like, what about the prophecies from the old prophets that haven't yet been fulfilled? What about, like, second coming prophecies? What about that? Like, that hasn't been fulfilled because there were a lot of expectations, of messianic expectations by the Jews that they didn't realize were referring to the second coming, and so they misunderstood. And so, according to them, there's still a lot of prophecies that are unfulfilled, and so they're like, wait, when you say all things are become new, do you mean that we're kind of erasing all that stuff, that we're erasing all this history? Like, is that what you mean? And Jesus is like, no, they're still valid, okay? All of that is still going to happen, these prophecies are still true, but the law is new. And he even clarifies, I'm not replacing the covenant. The covenant is not yet fulfilled. The covenant is still in force. God is still covenanted with his people. But the law of Moses, is fulfilled, and there's a new law. And this always confused me, and I'm still not 100% certain about what fulfilling the law means, because of course, he didn't backspace the law of Moses. We still follow a lot of the law of Moses. We still follow the 10 Commandments and a lot of the more basic, fundamental, foundational aspects of the law of Moses. But of course, we don't do some of the more ritualistic stuff. We don't do the Sabbath laws, we don't sacrifice animals, etc. And so, I'm not 100% clear on what fulfilling the law means, but something that kind of sheds a little bit of light on it is when he says in verse 9, I am the law and the light. Look unto me and endure to the end, and ye shall live. So he's like, you don't have to look to the law anymore, you can look to me, because I am the law. And now that I'm here, you look to me instead of the law. I think that's what he's saying. And so he's like, well, I'm fulfilled. Like, now the law is made flesh. Now I'm here. Now you don't have to look to a book. Now you can look to me, which I think is pretty cool. So maybe that's what he's getting at. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. Leave a comment if you're on YouTube about what you think fulfilling the law even means. Because obviously he didn't abolish it. Like, he says multiple times, the law is become new, and that, like, there is a new law, and the law of Moses hath an end, but we still follow the law of Moses. Parts of it, at least. In Acts 9 or 10 at the Council of Jerusalem, it was decided that Christians don't need to do the ritualistic parts of the law of Moses, but, like, we still follow it. So I'm not 100% clear on what he means. But I think it's really cool how he says in verse 9, I am the law and the light. Look unto me and endure to the end, and ye shall live. So I just love that. Enduring to the end is an eternal principle that's brought up all over Scripture, and I just love how he emphasizes it. Again, we need to focus on how Jesus Christ is using his time in the Americas. He only has, 16 chapters, maybe 20 chapters in the Book of Mormon to talk, which out of the 230 chapters, that's like a small fraction. And so he only has so much time among these people to spill as much knowledge and shed as much light as possible. And he's using some of his time to be like, hey, I am the law. The law of Moses in me is fulfilled. Now there is a new law, a higher law, which he gave, in the previous chapters. So he's spending his time doing this, so I think it's worth understanding. So I need to go do some more research, is what I'm thinking. And now it came to pass that when Jesus had spoken these words, he said unto those 12 whom he had chosen, Ye are my disciples, and ye are a light unto this people, who are a remnant of the house of Joseph. And behold, this is the land of your inheritance, and the Father hath given it unto you. And not at any time hath the Father given me commandment that I should tell it unto your brethren at Jerusalem. Neither at any time hath the Father given me commandment that I should tell unto them concerning the other tribes of the house of Israel, whom the Father hath led away out of the land. This much did the Father command me that I should tell them, that other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. Ooh, this is fascinating. So what's really interesting about this section is how Jesus Christ is kind of getting ahead of the argument that people might make against the Book of Mormon that, hey, Jesus Christ doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that he's going to go to the Americas after he dies. Like, nowhere does he say that. Nowhere does God say that. It's not in the Bible, so therefore it didn't happen. Which is a bad argument in many ways, but one of the ways Jesus Christ mentions right here, he's like, God didn't command me to tell them. God didn't command me to let them know that I have other tribes. And then he says, verse 17, he says, this is what he did command me to say, that other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring. And that is a verse in the Bible, which is so cool. And actually, if you listen to LDS apologetics, which I'm kind of like dipping my toes in LDS apologetics, it's a good time. When Protestants and other Christians bring their argument against us that, like, he doesn't say he's going to go to the Americas in the Bible, so it didn't happen, we do point to that other sheep I have which are not of this fold verse. And it's fun because Jesus Christ himself also points to it. He's also doing what those apologists are doing when they point to this verse to be like, look, there were other people. And he was going to them and he was going to gather them. And Jesus Christ is like, yeah. I wasn't commanded to tell them of you and the other tribes that I have, but I was commanded to tell them about the other sheep that I have, and that's it. So I just think that's cool. I didn't realize that he said this, because we use this quote all the time to explain to people the fact that there were other tribes and other people. And I just think it's cool that Jesus Christ is also making that same point. And now, because of stiff-neckedness and unbelief, they understood not my word. Therefore, I was commanded to say no more of the Father concerning this thing unto them. But verily I say unto you, that the Father hath commanded me, and I tell it unto you, that ye were separated from among them because of their iniquity. Therefore it is because of their iniquity that they know not of you. And verily I say unto you again, that the other tribes hath the Father separated from them, and it is because of their iniquity that they know not of them. And verily I say unto you, that ye are they of whom I said, other sheep I have which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. And they understood me not, for they supposed that it had been the Gentiles, for they understood not that the Gentiles should be converted through their preaching. And they understood me not that I said that they shall hear my voice, and they understood me not that the Gentiles should not at any time hear my voice, that I should not manifest myself unto them, save it were by the Holy Ghost. But behold, ye have both heard my voice and seen me, and ye are my sheep, and ye are numbered among those whom the Father hath given me. I love this. He kind of continues the point that I was harping on about before, about how he's like, yeah, you guys are those other sheep that I mentioned. The Jews didn't understand what I meant. They thought I was talking about the Gentiles, but they misunderstand that I said that they will hear my voice. And that means that I'm going to come among them and talk to them. I'm going to visit them. And he's like, I am. You are those people. Like, I am fulfilling this prophecy that I made myself. Like, you are who I was referring to, and because of their iniquity, not only were you separated from them, but they didn't understand what I meant because they weren't listening fully, right? So I just love that he's like, you are my people. I'm not going to go to the Gentiles in body. I'm going to come to them in spirit, but the only people that I'm going to visit in person are my people. And he actually says there are other lost tribes too, that even the people in the Americas don't know about, and the Jews in Jerusalem don't know about. Like, there are other tribes. We don't know where they are, who they are, where they came from, how they got there. We just know they are God's people spread across the earth. We don't know where he guided them, what promised land he gave them, but we know that the Nephites were in the Americas, which is pretty cool. So God's people is a lot broader today even than we think that it ever was. Broader even than LDS people understand it to be, because we understand that God's people there was like a small group in the Americas and most of them were in Jerusalem. But clearly there were more tribes. We don't know how big they are. We don't know whose ancestors they are. We don't know where they settled. That's a fascinating thought, to be like, there are other Semitic peoples or people with Semitic ancestors in other places in the world, and we have no idea where. That's so cool. And I love how he focuses on the fact that, like, ye are my people. Like, you are of the house of Joseph. You are my people. Because I'm sure the Nephites feel kind of separate. They don't really feel related at all to their Jerusalem ancestors, their heritage. I'm sure that they understand, at least on some level, that they are related to the house of Israel, or at least descended from the house of Israel. But Jesus Christ is like, no, you are my people. This isn't just a thing that's only in the past. You are my people right now. And that is the coolest thing ever. So the stand-up verse is going to be verse 12, which says, "Ye are my disciples, and ye are a light unto this people, who are a remnant of the house of Joseph." So Jesus here only calls them his disciples, his 12 disciples. So we don't have apostles in the Americas, but that's just about as close as you can get to apostles. And also, apostle was a Greek word, and this wasn't written in Greek. So maybe this literally is exactly the same authority that the apostles had. But either way, there were 12 people called of God. In everything but name in the Book of Mormon, they are apostles. And so I like how he describes his apostles here as a light unto this people. Because obviously, Jesus Christ is the light and the law. But the apostles are a light, as in they're a guiding light. They guide people back to God, back to Jesus Christ, back to the gospel. And I just kind of like the idea that they just have this like big searchlight that they're just kind of holding up to show people where to go. You know, they're kind of that guiding light post that is just helping people find their way in this dark world. That's what apostles do. That's who they are. They are lights to this people. And I just think that's a cool thing to apply to our modern day apostles and prophets. They are lights unto us. They're watchmen on the tower. They can see farther than we can, and they have the lights pointed in the correct directions that we can follow. They have these guiding lights in this dark world, and they are who we can look to for reliable information and the gospel of Jesus Christ and how to come back to him. So yeah, that is the episode for today. I hope you enjoyed. This one's really cool because it kind of separates a little bit from the Sermon on the Mount, and it starts to be like, hey, so this is what you're thinking about. You are not sure what I mean when I say I'm gonna replace the law. You are not sure what I mean when you say you guys are actually related to the house of Joseph, and therefore you are my people. You are mentioned in the Bible. I talked about you, but no one understood what I meant. You are my people. You are my other sheep. And there are others as well. So this, he kind of breaks from the Sermon on the Mount, and he talks to the people unique teaching, which we don't get as much of as you might want in the Book of Mormon, but it's still super cool when he kind of breaks from just quoting the Bible or just quoting what he's already said to the people in Jerusalem to give them something unique, and it's something that's specific to these people in the Americas. So that's the coolest thing ever. Anyways, so there is a link down in the show notes that I want to let you know about. In that link, you can access literally everything to solve all of the problems in your life. You can even... You can find my Instagram, my YouTube. You can find a free version of the Book of Mormon. You can read it online or on an app. You can also contact me if you really want to. You can also donate to me if you really find this valuable, because I do this thing for fun. It's a passion project of mine. And finally, you can subscribe to my Substack. So if you want some Book of Mormon insight articles into your inbox every once in a while, click subscribe on that, because it's very, very cool. So yeah, that's all I've got for you today. I'll talk to you later. Bye.